Hi, I'm Victoria, and this is My Villain Era. My Villain Era is for every woman who is done editing themselves for other people's comfort. Here we set boundaries without apology, chase our own story without permission, and make peace with being misunderstood because the most powerful version of you was never meant to be everybody's favorite. Welcome, everybody. Today I'm talking with Coach Jackie, and I'm so excited to have this conversation. I've known Jackie for a minute now, and she's
Cool.
a really fascinating person. Let me tell you a little bit about her, and then I'm going to have you tell her story because I think it's really interesting. Jackie Cote is your freedom mentor, international speaker, best-selling author, and full-time RV adventurous. She's the owner of Jackie Cote Coaching. She empowers ambitious women to let go of control simply and simplify their lives, prioritize joy, amen, and create purposeful, driven lives with time, money, freedom, and love, and doing less and living more. Jackie is a Jersey girl at heart and loves cooking, especially Italian, traveling and experiencing a life fully. Even she even jumped out of an airplane, girl. After 30 years of leadership in the restaurant interest industry, mentoring hundreds to their next level, she got fired from her last job in 2018 and now lives her dream as a full-time nomad with her husband and two pups, inspiring other women to awaken the badass within, own their magic, and unapologetically thrive in their freedom-filled lives. Welcome, Jackie. I'm so excited to have you here and have this conversation.
Right? I'm so excited to be here, and I loved having you on my podcast, so I love that thank you for having me. I'm so appreciative.
Yes, everybody should go listen to that episode because that was so good. And I'll make sure I include the link. And your podcast is I Got It Girl, right? Okay. I got it, girl. So, Jackie, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your journey. One thing I've noticed is in a lot of these conversations, we have such similar stories about how do we get where we are now and what the work that we're doing. So I'd love for you to share that in your own words.
It is crazy how it all crosses over. Like, I feel like we're all in our own boats, but like the same river. I don't know what that saying is, but anyway. So my journey really comes from ever since I was a kid, I've been somebody who like mentored people but didn't realize it. And I did it 25 of the 30 years in my restaurant career. And there was this last 2 years of my career where I took myself out of what I was really good at, which I was very much in operations in the restaurant industry where I worked with people, helped see the gift of belief for them, held that up for them until they got there and helped promote hundreds and hundreds, as you heard in the bio. But the last 2 years I took a challenge, right? We go and I put myself in a corporate office position and I felt like an animal in a cage. But I was like, you know what, as women, we're gonna try to fit the circle into the square, make it work. We're gonna push through and we didn't make a bad decision. We're just gonna make it work. But it didn't. And then June of 2018, I was funny, I was watching Facebook and my friend posted something and he looked really happy. And me and him have had very um uh similar careers in the restaurant industry. I like called him up and I was like, "Why are you so happy?" "I am not." "Why are you so happy?" I'm like, "I am not." And he's like, "Girl, let me tell you, I just found this thing we're called coaching." And when I think coaching, I don't know about you, but I heard soccer coach, football coach, like I saw sports coach. I didn't think coaching in the sense of life and business. And he goes, imagine taking everything we're really good at that we've been doing for decades and putting into our own business. And I was like, that sounds too good to be true, but tell me more. And immediately he gave me this company information that he did his certifications with, and he's like, check him out, give him a call. And I made that phone call, and that changed my life because I realized, okay, I could go back to school and learn how to do this and slowly build my business, right? While I have my safe full-time job. Well, God, universe had a totally different story because 2 months later I got fired from that job, and I had just learned what signs were, like signs from the universe and signs from God, or because I was not very in tune with that before this whole journey at all. Yeah, and so then when they fired me, I was like, well, I drove home and I felt really light in the shoulders. I felt really like happy, even though I just lost my job and my benefits, everything. And I got home and I was like, I think this is a sign. And the next day, what's really funny, and this is in my book, the next day I got a package from my coaching company that I'd been with for about 3 months. and it was a package of all the swag from the company, and it's like, your future journey or whatever, it was something like that, and I was like, the day after I got fired, it came in the mail, and I was like, "Okay," and I
That's a
got
sign.
as a sign, but I gotta be honest, to wrap it up, like, I took 6 months off after that. I didn't go right into the business. I tried to apply for jobs, and I kept getting them, and I kept saying no, and then I would travel, and I'd go see my family, and I'd go see friends, and I traveled 7 different times without having to ask for permission from anyone to go take a day off, take a weekend off, take a week off, and I was like, "Shoot, now that I've tasted this freedom, I can't untaste it." So February 2019 is when I decided I'm gonna announce that I'm gonna build a coaching business. I hired my first one-on-one coach, and the rest is history.
Amazing. That's amazing that the package arrived such at the right timing. But yeah,
I
talk
was like, "What
about a
is
sign.
this?" And I was like, "Holy crap, that is exactly what I needed." So, yeah.
Right, at the right time. I love that. I think that so many women can relate to this, especially women about our age who have done all of the things. And this is what I call all the expectations, right? Maybe we went to college, maybe we got the fancy corporate job or whatever. Like that was my path. I mean, like, dang girl, I mean, I got a master's degree in finance. Like let me just
I
like fall
feel you.
asleep at my desk. And I was so good at it, but I wasn't using my gifts at all. And I would come home from work exhausted. And I think that's a sign too, is when you come home from work and you're like, that was all of my energy. I felt like I was really forcing something. So I love this story because a lot of women I know, they're to the point they're like, I can't do this anymore, right? They're like, I've done all the things I was supposed to and it didn't make me happy. And they're really trying to figure out like what is going to make you happy. And I don't know if I ever told you this story. So I when we first moved to Texas, I was doing financial coaching and consulting, and I had some clients. I had just quit my job as a financial advisor, and it felt like in my soul, like I was dying every day when I went in there.
That was me the
So,
last 3 years. I know that feeling.
yeah, I mean, like, you know how it goes is like, ugh. And it just wasn't working. There was something about it that just wasn't like, I felt like I was a marriage counselor talking about money because couples kept coming to me and I'm like, oh, this isn't this isn't what I want to do. And we just moved to Texas. And my husband said, you know what, you've been working since you were 15. Take a year off. Like, what do you want to do? And I said to him, I go, I don't even know. I don't even know what sounds like fun. I was so disconnected from myself, from joy, from happiness that like I couldn't even tell you. And that has been a journey for me to figure out like, okay, like that sounds ridiculous to some people, but that's legit the truth.
It's very common, I will tell you. It's actually the number one thing with high achieving women who have been through a journey of anywhere maybe 10, 15, 20 years. Like, we almost lose the ability to vision or lose the ability to we do, like, and we get so stuck in the norm and the predictable, the what I should be doing, to your point of this whole podcast, right? Is that we get stuck in that, and it's a challenge. I have to dig it out of people. I have to dig it out of my clients in the beginning to help, because I know when I was asked the question, "What do you want?" I was like, "I wanna pay my bills because I just lost my job." Like, that was the extreme of my, like, vision. There wasn't this, like, "I wanna travel the country, and I travel the world," and I didn't, like, have all that. I was just like, that's all I knew, and I worked a lot with the government and military because I grew my business in Virginia, and, of course, they're very boxed in. Like, this I signed this contract 30 years ago. I can't quit till I mean, 20 years ago. I can't quit till it's 30 years and I retire. And I'm like, "But you're miserable. Like, do you really wanna live another 10 years in this world?" And so, we get so boxed into the shoulds, the boxes, the titles, the things. It's really is hard to dream beyond what it is. So, that's very normal. Just wanna let you know.
Isn't that sad though?
It is. It is.
Yeah, isn't that sad? There's such a disconnection there. And that's why with my kids, I'm always like, what do you really want to do? And they're like, oh God, mom, but I'm like, we have to ask ourselves these questions. So I wanted to ask you, about, because you're the freedom mentor. I really love this concept of freedom because I feel like so many people feel trapped. And maybe you've experienced this a lot with their clients. I know I felt trapped. Like when I worked a 9 to 5, especially when my son was a little baby, and like daycare was crazy, and we were still paying like child support for my stepson. Like our bills were high. Like I needed to work, my husband needed to work, and I felt 100% trapped by this, like by my job, by like what was happening in my life. And I want to talk about that for a hot second, and what women can do to even lean more towards freedom, even if that's their reality right now, is like, I have to work a 9 to 5 to pay my bills. Because freedom is just, it's the opposite of control, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And I think that like we're also trying to control the outcome. We're trying to control our lives. And that's why we don't have a sense of freedom, is because we're not just like letting it all go.
Yeah, that's a great question because when I kicked off, like I've always been that when I look back, because I didn't really realize it until I got into this, that I've always been that freedom child. Like I always kind of I was a baby of 8 of us, and everybody did the 2.5 kids, picket fence, get married, get a good salaried position. And what's crazy is my dad was an entrepreneur. So nobody dove into entrepreneurship because my dad's journey in entrepreneurship was like up, down, bankruptcy, this, that, challenging, struggle, good, bad. And they were like, heck no. And I'm the one child who was like, what can I try? What can I like dive into? Right. So I always had this, like, after college, I went and just started traveling the country a little bit with a friend of mine and did some things that were different than the norm. And so that's why I call myself the freedom mentor, because I always had this like itch to like, how can I make this more free, more fun, more free, more fun? So I always looked at freedom as time freedom, money freedom, location freedom, a lot of things that we crave. But what I've discovered more recently, I would say in the last 3 years of this 7-year journey of my own internal growth and this business, is that freedom is an inside job and it comes from the inside out. And so I always looked at it as like, how can I get more external freedom? But you won't get that unless you do the work on the internal being. And what I mean by that is that free to be you, free to let go of other people's expectations, free to quit things that don't serve you, free to choose, make your choices and don't doubt them and trust them and know that whatever on the other side is going to be okay. Like there's this freedom to just be yourself, and we get so stuck, to your point, in the okay, this is I literally have a client the other day said to me, but I can't imagine doing something else because like this was the plan. And I'm like, we can change the plan. Like it's okay. So feeling
Stage, yeah.
yeah, and I'm blatantly honest, I'm a Jersey girl, I'm not gonna tell you it's not gonna be, like, hard or awkward or uncomfortable to make the change, and because so many of us avoid change, change is the beautiful part of who we are as humans. We get to change, we get to embrace, like, what's next, we get to pivot, we get to do all these cool things, but it's risky and it's scary, and I think because I kinda had to do a lot of that my whole life, change is really easy for me. I'm like, dude, girl, I moved like 22 times before I got into an RV. Like I was like, let's move again, let's move again, let's move again. Like I think I had commitment issues, I think too, but well, that's a whole nother topic. But freedom, so the freedom to vision, like we just talked about. So you said, where can they start small? Well, play and challenge with yourself to like, what does it feel like in your body when you say, I would love to be able to XYZ. And you're like, itty bitty shitty committee over here is going, yeah, but you can't, you don't got the money, you don't have the time, you don't have the, wah, wah, wah. Well, what if you took something small, like if I could just step away for lunch and go outside for lunch instead of eat at my desk and work through it? That's a choice. That's a small choice with your work day. No, but I have to prove myself to this company. Bullshit. No, you don't. A job is just a job. And I will tell you that to the day I die. The job is just a job and it will go on without you. And we got to come early, stay late, and prove ourselves to the max to like get ourselves up the ladder. Well, guess what? I bet you if you cut about 40% out of the effort you put in, they still would pay you the same paycheck
Mm.
and you'd have more time in your life. So it's all in perception and perspective. So that's the first thing we work on. I usually work on with women is like, what do we need to clear off the decks? Because you committed to the Chamber of Commerce and the PTA and the brownies and the this and the that and now you're like volunteer coaching for yourself. What? You don't have to do all these things to prove that you are a significant individual in this world. You were born with infinite value. So, freedom can begin with just saying no to something, clearing something that doesn't serve you, making a choice at lunch to go do something for you versus sitting at your desk. That's how small you can begin with freedom.
Oof, girl. Yes, all the years that I worked at corporate, and it's true. Like my last year, really at the same ish job that I had for 20 some years, and it was awful. The expectation was that you will work through lunch, you will do this and that. And if you went outside of that, like, who do they think they are? It was really amazing to me. And it really hit home. My son was, I don't know, 5, 6, and he got the flu. And for kids that little, like it can be really dangerous to get the flu. And, I had talked to the doctor. Like, bottom line is like they weren't able to give him anything. We missed the window for like Tamiflu and like all that stuff. For a full week, I'm like up all night worried about my kid, like trying to get his fever down, like trying to make sure he's actually like drinking fluids. And then I have a boss calling me, and she said, I remember she said, if you don't come to work tomorrow, I'm going to have you written up. And I was like,
Go for it.
yeah, I like literally, my kid has been sick all week. I am not like in Bermuda on a vacation. And it like that always stuck with me. It's like, man, when we're talking about freedom, like how about the freedom to choose that I don't want those type of people in my life? And I think it's really hard when you're stuck in the 9 to 5 mentality, that you could even have a concept of what it's like to have someone else pay you to just be you and show up and do what you are gifted to do, like whatever your gifts are. And I have to give you serious props, Jackie, because like you really pushed me this past week. And girl, I have 3 new clients.
Yeah, that's right. That's
I
right.
have, I have
60
3
minutes with
new clients.
Jackie, you'll get whatever you want.
No, but literally, it's like, and this is what I figured out. You were like, girl, you do this kind of thing for free. Why aren't you charging for that? But more than that, I realized that I'm having the same conversations with people all the time. And the conversations are about using their intuition and the knowing that they have deep down inside for their business. And somehow we feel like it should be something separate, but really like those are your gifts and that's what you should be using. And so this week I'm like, why do I not talk about this all the time? What do you talk about all the time, either with your girlfriends or with other people? People at the grocery store. I have the strangest conversations. Everyone wants to tell me their life story,
We
but
have
that's not.
talk to me on our faces. We do. I know that feeling. Like all of a sudden I'm checking out and I've got the whole life story of the person in line with me. I'm like, okay,
Girl, yeah. It used to really annoy me. It used to be
I
like,
love it.
why does this person think I want to talk to them? And now I hold space, and I'm like, I think that they need to be seen, and I'm a warm
Mhm.
person to them. I'm just gonna hold this space. But yeah, I mean, so it's really interesting, but all of that stemmed from our conversation and you being like, girl, let's go. Let's go. Like, so yeah, so that was just one thing that came from our conversation that we had after I was on your podcast. So, yeah, I mean, Jackie is the bomb. And so you should talk with
Thank
her
you.
if you are looking for this freedom lifestyle, because it's not just like, okay, let me tell you, I once thought that we were going to do the RV thing with all my kids. And so one summer, we lived in a tiny house trying it out. No, girl, no.
It's not for
Everybody
everyone.
hated it. Everybody hated it. My kids wanted to kill each other. Like, I told my husband, I was like, this is the dream. Like, we're going to get an RV and that's how we'll camp, right? Like, that's going to be our vacationing. But we cannot, no, this will not work.
The fact that I have in my bio my dream life, like the last time I was in an RV, besides living in it here, was the worst experience because my parents decided to take 8 of us down from Jersey to Florida, which is a 24-hour drive to go down the East Coast in an RV. and we did not all get along, like, especially my older siblings and my step siblings and my older siblings, like, that were equal ages. And by the end of the trip, we all were like, "Never again will I travel in an RV. Like, never again under the same roof with you people." Like, we just hated each other by the end of the trip, like, hated each other. And I was like, "Never, I hate RVs." And I was totally like, and now I'm like, living in one. It's just funny. So never say never, by the way. That's a never say never, because you never know what your life is gonna lead you to, because the freedom life that I pictured was like, we're gonna go to Italy, France, we're gonna go do travel, international travel, and then COVID hit back in the day when I started this, and I was like, "Well, that ain't gonna work, can't do that." So you pivot, and you never know where your life's gonna lead you, and that's another thing about letting go. The freedom life is you letting go of that control you mentioned earlier, and trusting and listening, to your point, and the magic that you do, is listening to that intuition and your guides and stuff like that, and allowing that to come in, because girl, I made so much noise. There was no way I was listening to self, listening to, and I think there was pieces of me over the years that was very followed my intuition, didn't realize it was what I was doing. Now I understand what it means to do that, and now I do it more intentionally and understand that, and listening, get quiet and all that other stuff. But yeah, we did not like the RV. It's not for
Well,
everybody.
and that's why I think it's so important that, especially, I mean, it's interesting. Like, most of the women that I'm talking with on this podcast are like these plus. You talk to someone in their 20s and they're like, "Yeah, I'll go live in an RV." And I'm like, "You haven't paid a bill yet." Like I'm just thinking about my kids. Right? And I'm like, "Okay." I think it's so important that you said something really important. I want to put a pin in it for a second, is that to give yourself space to vision and dream. And sometimes when, especially, we feel trapped, like I did for a long time, it's really hard to do because it's sad. It's like there's a longing there, you know what I mean? Like, it's like I really want to do that, but I can't. And that sometimes that can feel almost worse. And I say that from experience because my husband is the person that's like, "What if we bought this house in Italy? It's only $200,000." And I'm like, "Where are we going to get another $200,000?" You know?
Me and you are the same, and my husband and your husband are the same, because
Really?
he would come up with ideas like that. He'd come up with like, "Oh, I saw this storage unit thing for sale. That's the highest profitable thing." And I'm like, of course, my brain goes, the financial people, "Where are we going to get the money from? Well, is it just going to fall
Yes.
out of the sky?" But that I realized, as the visionary, as the person who helps people vision, I was squashing my husband's, visionary vibe and ability for like 2 years while I was a coach. Finally, one day he goes, "Listen, when I share a dream, and you should know this as a coach," he looked at me, he pointed at me, he goes, "When I share, it doesn't mean we're going to do it right now." He goes, "I'm just sharing possibility with you." And I was like, holy crap. Like, I was the poo-pooing one. I was the one poo-pooing on on his dreams. And I was like, wake up, girl. And so here's, you probably have either heard the analogy of like, we're stuck in a jar. Have you heard that analogy before?
No.
Okay, so this doesn't have a label on it, but imagine like a mayonnaise jar or some kind of jar that has a label on it with ingredients. We are stuck in this jar in our life, and we need others to help us see what we cannot see and read what we cannot read. So if you imagine you're just like, "I can't get out," if you're on right now, if you're on YouTube and watching me, it's cute, but on a podcast, you're not going to understand. But imagine you're in there and you're stuck and you're like, "I can't see, like, I don't understand." And that's what you're describing when it says we can't vision, is like, we can't see beyond what we're stuck in. So we need someone else to help awaken us and expand it. And sometimes it's little by little, because sometimes it's scary, but sometimes you can really help pop open that, well, what's possible? I mean, if you can't prove to me in a court of law that 100% chance that that's not possible, then anything's possible. So when someone said, I'm like, "Is it possible that you could live in Italy and get a villa in Italy?" And they're like, well, the money, the this, the that, but no, just answer the question. Is it possible?
Yeah.
And that's the first tick. And they're like, "Well, yeah." I'm like, "It's possible. Yeah, it's possible I could do that." My kids grow up and we sell the house and then we go, and yeah, it's possible. Okay, then that's all we need, is that you believe that it's possible. But we get so stuck in the jar that we need someone else to help us get out so we can read it and see the label we can't see.
Yes, absolutely. And the more that I'm a big nerd, and the more that I learn about quantum physics and timelines, and the fact that, like, quantum physics, one of the things that they talk about, like, in regards to timelines, it's kind of like that movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, where it's like, if you can think it's possible that you have done it on another timeline. And if I've already done it on another timeline, I can do it on this timeline. And so something that I started doing, because I'm a big fan of Joe Dispenza,
Hmm.
is in my meditation time, and this is if I have time to like really sit down and play. In my meditation time, I'll take a few extra minutes and I'll imagine doors. And then I'll open the door and see what comes in.
Ooh,
So, yeah, I mean, try it sometime.
I
It's
love
really
that. I'm gonna have to
fascinating.
try that.
So, yeah, so I opened one door and I was like, oh, I'm speaking to 1,000 people. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. And so I spent one day in this door of I'm an amazing TED Talk speaker. And then another day, like there was another door of like I lead retreats in Bali. And so all of this is like playing with your own reality
Mhm.
and having more fun. And I'm recording an episode tomorrow with Cherry, who's sometimes my special guest star on here. And her mission is to help you have more joy in your life. Because again, it's this aspect of like, what if I just play around with this idea, right? It's all in your head. So there's nothing that's bad that's going to happen, or you know what I mean? I don't know why we don't spend more time doing this.
Mhm.
I do think it is our conditioning and our programming as people. We have to do this. Right? Like to it's we're recording this on a Saturday morning. I mentioned something to my husband about mowing the lawn, and then I was like, well, the kids are out of school. Like we could do that any day of the week, you know?
Right, right. I just gotta share something that helped me for the logical brain people who are not quite in the, because you have to believe. I had to be rewired that you have to believe before you're ever going to achieve something, and then you have to be willing to receive it. That's something that I live by. And if you pick up a pencil or you pick up your phone or you look at the computer you're on right now, all of that was created in the imagination first before it became reality. Energetic, your imagination, somebody created this cup, this piece of this mug or whatever. And so I was like, well, that's logical then. So if they had to believe it and create it and imagine it before it was ever going to be achieved in creation. So why do we fight the fact that we have to, like, we get to imagine and curate like what we desire? Because everything in your world and everything's energy, but everything in your world was created in the imagination first. And so if we can link that, so that's the logical, like science side of things, whatever. Um, and for me, like, when we go and a good example too of, like, when the restaurant opens, it takes, like, $500,000 before they ever sell their first sandwich, so they have to believe that they're gonna open the door and they're gonna start selling sandwiches, right? And so, meals, and even when we start these businesses, we think, "Well, I gotta make money before I can invest money," and I'm like, "Really? Because if you believe that your business is gonna build and that you're gonna build this, then you will make the investment on the front end into yourself and what it is, whether it's support with a one-on-one coach, whether it's technology that you need to support the podcast or whatever it is, you're gonna invest in it before you're gonna make the money because that's how it works. And then you're creating what's next. Like, you're actually putting the belief into the thing you want to receive and achieve. And then here's the thing. I did all that and I wasn't receiving any money for my first like 9 months. Let me just tell you, in my business, it's because I wasn't willing to receive money. And that's a big one for women. If you're a woman right now, listen to this. You have to be willing to receive what it is that you want to achieve. And if you don't have the capacity to receive, if you haven't worked on the inner work, on the capacity to receive the money you desire, the love that you desire in a relationship, whatever it is, and this is part of the freedom thing, if you don't have the willing to receive it, you're never going to. No matter how hard you try, you're going to be beating your head against the wall. You're just going to be like, I did all the things, but did you work on the inner capacity, belief system of receiving? Are you willing to receive? Because we've been told give, 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 but we weren't taught how to receive. And so we got that's a whole channel that you gotta build. Because I know I had to.
Oh man, amen to that. Yeah, receiving is a whole thing. And if you especially are a people pleaser type, if you have been used to accepting crumbs instead of the whole cake, you aren't comfortable with receiving. I don't know, a year or two ago, I heard someone on a podcast talk about this. So I was like, dang it. I want to be the best at receiving as much stuff as I possibly can. I'm like, give me all of the good things. Like, give me money for nothing. Actually, it was during a meditation I heard, do you want to make matrix money or do you want to make magic money? And I was like, give me the magic money, right? But
Yeah.
what I had to do was sit down, like take literally a minute during my meditation time and just imagine people handing me presents and just saying thank you, right? And that was my way of being like, I'm going to receive more. And that's okay because I've been putting out and helping and overachieving and doing all the things for all of these years. So it's okay if I receive, right? And
Uh-huh.
even if I didn't, it's okay if I receive.
Uh-huh.
A lot of us have a hard time with that. So yeah, I had to sit with that for a long time.
And and thank you for sharing that because so many will relate. The piece that helped me with it too was the transaction. We have been taught that everything needs to be transactional. And if we can learn how to give without transaction, receive without transaction, that because they're separate channels, receiving and giving. Energy going out one way is going to come back to you another way. It's just the way. So what taught me that was my surrender year of 2024, and I had to go take care of my parents, like my dad for a while, my mom for a while, my stepdaughter, and I had to let go. I really had to let go of the control of like managing everything in the household and doing everything. And I had to allow my husband to support me. Sounds crazy, but I had to allow him to step into the masculine energy, which he's been trying to, but I've been rejecting because I had it. I got it, girl. I got it all under control. So then I was out on the East Coast and I needed people's places to stay at. Like I needed to stay at people's places outside of my parents at different zones. And people were just opening their doors for me and letting me stay there. So what did the old Jackie would be like, oh, I need to buy you a gift. I need to send you presents. I need to get you flowers. I need to clean your house and I need to make you dinner because you gave me a place to stay. No, I promised myself that year that I would allow people to take care of me and give back to me without having to make it a transaction. You know, when someone buys you dinner and you're like, I'll get you next time. You don't have to say that. When someone says, you look really pretty today. Oh, so do you. Just say thank you, receive it, and don't feel like the need. Now, we can genuinely say, like, yeah, you have some really cool shoes too. Like, that's fine. Like, you can genuinely, like, but don't feel like you have to. If it's coming from a place of like, they did something nice for me, I must do something nice for them, it takes away the joy of the gift of that person wanting to give you that gift of whatever it is that they want to give you. So receive it. To your point, say thank you and receive the compliment, receive the time, receive the gift, receive the money, because that is going to help expand your capacity as you grow in all these in your relationship, grow in your business to receive more love, to receive more money, to receive, and you'll respond like you won't react anymore to I gotta spend $1,000 on this. It's going to
Yeah.
feel comfortable in your
Yes. And those, part of that is too is like societal expectations, right? Which I think are just bullshit. Like we have put all of this stuff on ourselves for years and thinking back to like I was thinking about my mom and like thinking back to even when she was my age, like the expectations that were around. And now that I am looking at things from a different lens, expectations are just garbage. It just really is. Why shouldn't we do what we want to do when we want to do it, right? Rather than it's expected that, well, barf, whatever. Okay.
right? We were just talking
Right.
to somebody yesterday. And remember the days where I'd watch my mom? I remember I was real young before she died, but I watched my mom. The rule in the Italian culture is the woman eats last. Everyone else gets fed, everyone else gets cared for, everyone gets taken care of. The husband gets seconds, whatever. And then mom can sit down and eat. Now, luckily, my dad is the kindest man in the world and it was like absolutely passionately in love with my mother. And he was like, sit, honey, I'll get you food. Like, so he would make it happen. But she was trained growing up that you take care of everybody first and then you get to nourish your body.
Oof.
Yeah. So so
Oof.
so this is generational stuff we're talking about. Like you said, there's other timelines, there's other things that we sometimes we don't even know why we're doing the things we do or react the way because we're like, I didn't experience that. Yeah, but someone else did. I mean, some other timeline did, some other past generation did, and you carried it. It's not even yours, so let's get rid of it.
It's so interesting, isn't it, when you start like peeling back the layers on this stuff and I really think that this is a lot of the work that, like, I've been talking with women that are doing this work now, that it's like once you've been doing this work for a while and peeling back those layers, there's such peace, such more peace in your life because you realized, okay, I did A, B, C, and D because that's what grandma did, or that's what mom did, or that's what the expectation was, right? Like, I can't even tell you. Like, we'd be here all day if I told you the choices I made in my life because that's what was expected of me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when you start finally living your life for you, it's like a breath of fresh air. You're like, dang, I get to choose every day.
You'd be surprised. You don't it's like you know when you know, right? Like, you don't know until you know, and when you know, you're like, "Oh, that's why." Because, like, the chatter in my brain was so consuming for so many years, and I think most of us, when we have this nonstop brain that can pull out 42 files at a time and do 22 different things, blah, 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 I laugh that men can pull out 1 file and have to complete the task and then put the file back in the brain, but we can have, like, 10 files out at the same time. But we because the expectation is that we can do so many things, and because the expectation was and so I had this client one time say, "Okay, this is what Jackie does. She helps you lower your expectations, helps you quit things, and helps you cry." And I was like, "I'm not sure if that's good marketing, but okay." But it makes sense, right? Because if we can, like, cry and release and allow ourselves to feel, because God knows I didn't feel feelings till 47. And I was like, what are those things? Those are scary. Like, I had other survival mechanisms to get through those. And then if we can take those expectations, now people go, but we should have expectations on, like, I was like, no, that's called, we can have levels of, I can't think of the word right now. But anyway, when we have expectations on others, that's what consumes us. We're like, well, they like, I need them to do this, and this has to get to, and like, you are the definition of like sanity is having expectations on others and thinking you can make that happen. Like, we have no control over others. We only have control over ourselves. So we have, that's the word I couldn't think of it in a minute ago, but standards. You can have standards in your life of what you like. Okay, my standard is I'm going to be respected. I'm going to be spoken to appropriately. Like, I'm going to be, like, I'm not going to allow, like, if someone does that, I get to choose not to receive that, but we can't change them from how they're going to do it. It's impossible to change another human. So, and then the old side of quitting things, it's like, what doesn't serve you anymore? How many things
Mhm.
on your plate right now, and you've already done this, you've already released a lot of stuff that would no longer serve you. But if you're listening, how many things on your plate right now do you really like, do you have to be doing? And people can sit with me and go, I have to do this because I'm like, really? Do you have to? Or are you doing it because you think you should? And you think because someone's gonna not like you if you don't do it, or someone's going to leave you if you don't do it, or someone's going to judge you if you don't do it. Well, let me tell you, freedom, judgment-free zone is pure freedom. When you can stop judging yourself, whew, I can go on and on. Okay. There's so much around the freedom concept internally that, like you said, when we don't have that heavy, heavy weight in our brain and the chatter and the like the peace, we get to have peace amongst the chaos of life. Life is still going to happen, but your choice. It's your choice whether you choose happiness and joy and peace amongst the chaos. Like, you can have joy and pain at the same time and feel safe to do so. You can have freedom and like sadness. Like, you can have you can have two different emotions at the same time, but it's your choice. Like, some people go, I'm this, and then they won't allow themselves to have this, to have the joy or the happiness because, well, I'm sad about this or I'm angry about this. I'm like, I'm not telling you that, like, stuff your feelings away. I'm just telling you you're allowed to have both, experience all of it. So peace is huge. Peace is huge.
Yes. And yeah, I have it, and I shared with you, like, I've experienced more peace in my life in the past couple years than ever before. And when I tell you that most of the people who were in my life 5 years ago are not here now,
Yep.
oh, well, like, you kind of don't care about things like that once you have peace at, like, is on your heart. You
Hmm.
kind of don't care that, hey, this group of people, like, they didn't want to stick around. Like, a couple, I think it was 2 years ago, all of a sudden, like, I had this friend group and I was like so excited and these new friends. And then I found that I was off the group chat. I was like, I just didn't hear from any of them ever again. And it was so funny because at the time I was like, I feel like the little girl in 5th grade was like, "Oh, but they didn't want to
They
be
don't
friends with
like
me."
me.
I know. And then I was like, maybe she can't hang. You know what I mean? It was like if they don't like me,
Mhm,
bye. Like talk about freedom. Talk about free like when you're okay with that, when you're okay with people
mhm.
leaving your life. Woo.
Yes. I will tell you that's one of the number one fears why people won't make the change. Because the first question someone asked me in the coaching company when I started back in 2018 with the coaching learnings that I talked about earlier, they said, "What are you willing to lose to have the growth that you want and the life that you want?" And I was like, "What do you mean lose?" I'm like, "I'm not getting rid of anything." Like, and there they explain how like as you grow, people are going to either grow with you or fade away. And so the people, as long as you're true to self and you're always honoring self, the people that are meant to be standing will still be standing in your life and the others will fade away. I didn't have to kick anybody out. I didn't have to like get out of my life. They just worked their way out because they didn't align with who I was anymore or who I was becoming. And
Yeah.
I'm not and that's not me changing who I am. That's me allowing the pieces of me to come out and play and allowing myself to honor self. And if that didn't align, then they went their separate ways. And that's okay. Because everyone has a reason and a season to be in our life, right? A season and a reason to be in our life. And the other piece too, I just want to pinpoint something. You kind of said it, but like what other people think of us has nothing to do with us. And that sounds crazy, right? But what other people's like opinions and this and that, like that is a reflection of what they are, if it's not a positive, but what they're feeling like. So when it is a positive reflection on you, it's like those people are coming from a very positive, grateful, joyful place. So they can reflect that back to you, and when it's a negative or a judgmental or a questioning, like it's they're reflecting their own fears, they're reflecting their own resistance. Same with us. When we take radical responsibility for ourselves, then we have the ability to um own when when I'm annoyed with my husband. It's on me. When I'm like, why does it take you 24 hours to do the dishes? When I'm like, just do the damn dishes. And joking around, but like and I would be like, "What's inside of you that are you pissed off about?" Like, "It's because I want it done a certain way, and he's not doing it that way." But that's my resistance. That's my issue. That's my challenge, not his. And I know that, like, people are like, "But they should do what I say," just but yeah, okay, sure, try to control another human. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many topics on this, man. We can go so many places.
I can't remember who I was talking with about this topic this week, and that is a lot of people are afraid to lose things in their lives because they think that what's on the other side is somehow worse, not better.
Mm,
And really, we get to choose what happens in our life. But if you listen to Louise Hay, she always says, like, everything is working out for me.
mhm.
She talks about like in her videos, she talks about how if you lose a job, you should say everything is working out for me. And I I find that that phrase when you're really like experiencing a lot of things is very annoying. So I just say thank you. So like when I was off the group chat with those friends, I just said thank you. Thank you. I know better people are coming my way. I know people who love and understand me, like they're coming my way. Thank you.
Mhm.
But I think that sometimes people are so afraid of what's on the other side, kind of like losing your job could have been like a whoa, moment for you. Instead, you took it as like, hey, we're going to explore this and
Yep.
we're going to jump in and do something new. Right. And that's, I mean, like, I would bet that the Jackie from, prior to you, so prior to 2020, I would bet that I wouldn't recognize that Jackie. She would be a different person.
It's kind of funny you say that because I don't delete anything, any texts, any messages, any Facebook messages. And I found an old chat with a guy that I dated right before all this started. And I was so desperate in the messaging to the point where I was and that was only like a year before I started this journey. And I was reading the messages and I was like, wow, like I I was trying to control the scenario, first of all, but I was doing it from a desperation place, not a respect myself place. And that version of me, and I respect the woman. of every part of my life, like the person I was at 15, the person I was at 20, 30, 40, all the years. Because, like you said, everything is working out for us. Everything's happening for us, not to us. But when I read that, I was like, man, you have shifted. Girl, you have changed. Because I was like, and I laughed, like, this is why I don't cheat. I don't delete anything. Because I can look at a past conversation. I can see how I've changed in my response, like how I reacted to things versus responding, yeah. It's crazy. That version, you're right. She's very different, but I respect the version that survived for so many years. And that version of me has helped support the version that I've become over the last 7 years.
I think it's so important what you said, that you should respect the past versions of you. You should respect what you've done in the past, because honestly, that's what we knew. That's where we were.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that we have to stay there. We can improve as we go on in this journey. I
Yes.
love that.
So good. There's so many parts of us.
So, one last question for you before we wrap things up. One of the things about your villain era is realizing that you are putting yourself last, and this may have been going on for a while or even most of your life. And freedom for me is putting myself first. So, how can women start to put themselves first?
Funny when you have so many ways that you're like, okay, pick one, Jackie, because otherwise we're gonna be here another 50 minutes. I think there's the biggest thing that has helped myself and other clients is what really assessing what doesn't serve you anymore. And if you don't understand that, then get on a call. We can get on a call and stuff. But like, for example, like one of my very first clients, she's been with me for like 4 years. She wanted love. She wanted a relationship. She wanted a family, the kids, the farmhouse. Like we did the visioning. And I said, I said, where on this schedule do you plan on ever having time to make that happen? Because there was so much inputted into her life that she felt like she had to do to prove herself, to build her business, to do the thing that she was doing. I mean, her job and all that other stuff. And she really had to like let go a lot of things and say no, start saying no. And so putting yourself, I mean, and it could be, and that's pretty big, right? Like letting go of like roles that you think you got to play, things you think you got to say yes to. So how can you do that in each day? So just like I said earlier too, like it can be as simple as my job tells me I have to sit at my desk, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go outside. The world tells me that I've got to get up at 5 in the morning and have a 5 o'clock morning. No, you don't. Like what works for you and what feels good to you, make that choice without shame or guilt. There's a saying, and there's one thing I love to like, someone said this to me at the very beginning of this journey, and it said, no judgment, just curiosity. How can you be more curious without judgment in the choices that you get to make? And if you are sitting in a choice that's going to serve you and not everybody else in the world, and you start judging it, be curious why you're judging it, and that is going to probably because of all the past stories and the past generations and the weight and this and that, the shoulds and the I need to, da da da. And if you get that, be like, not today. I'm going to choose different today. Just little things, just choose different, one thing at a time. You'll start to feel it, and it's uncomfortable. It really is when you're making this shift. I know you probably felt it when you were making the shift. Like it's uncomfortable choosing self first when you haven't. But trust me, the other side is so beautiful and so peaceful. And shit still happens in my life. Like stuff.
Yeah.
I'm honest, but you don't carry it as heavy. You don't like your rebound time is shorter. You actually like. I have this acronym called PAR, and like now I can actually really quickly go pause, assess the situation, respond instead of react. What's the gifts I get to receive, and what do I need to release? And it's PARRR: pause, assess, respond, release, receive. There's like, and now I can do that in seconds, but not back in the day.
Right.
So
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you so much for being here today.
thank you.
I'm going to put Coach Jackie's info below and how you can work with her and all of the good stuff in the description. So if you feel like Jackie's your gal and you want to have a conversation with her, we'll put that in the info below. Thanks so much for being here, Jackie. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
Yeah, this has been a really good conversation. So we will be seeing you in our next episode of My Villain Era. Make sure you subscribe and like and do all of the things so that you can get notified of the next episode. We'll see you next time. Bye.